All right, hey guys, Mr. Kyle Myers Mathematics. Let's jump into it. This is literal equations, and the title sucks. Yeah, it's called literal equations. So really, it should be called. And I'll cross it out here. It should be called equations with letters, as in like plural, right? Like a letter versus letters. They have letters because that's now called literal equations. So I don't know why they call them that. A lot of texts are doing this for some reason. Sometimes they're called multivariable equations. So that I think is a better title than literal equations. The literal equations sound really dumb. So I'm sorry if you guys are also calling that. You might also be calling it multivariable equations. But that's what it is. It's equations with letters. So what we do then is we solve it just like we normally do. It's just that we won't be able to simplify as much. Which actually, if you think about it, is kind of nice. Because not simplifying means not doing math, which means less work. So in a way, this is actually better when it has more letters. And I'll show you how. All right, so number one, g equals 6x, and then comma 4x, meaning they want you to solve it for x. Okay, well, it's not currently solved for x. It's currently solved for g. G equals 6x, so the equation is solved for g because g equals, right? So if I solve it for x, I need to get rid of anything that's with the x because then the x would be by itself. We want the x to be by itself, either blah, blah, blah equals x or x equals blah, 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 blah. Since x is already on the right-hand side, we want to get rid of, well, whatever's next to it and then just get it by itself. Well, the only thing next to it is 6. 6x means 6 times x. If you're going to solve an equation, you got to do opposite operations. Whatever it looks like, you got to get rid of it by doing the opposite math thing on both sides of the equation. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6. Okay? So when I do that, 6's go away. What's g divided by 6? It's g divided by 6, right? So it's kind of weird because normally you're always combining things as you go. You're like multiplying 2 and 3 to get 6 and subtracting 12 and 5 and getting 7. That's normally what you're doing when you're solving equations, right? But now we're not doing that, or at least not as much. G over 6 is just g over 6. Can't simplify that because we don't know what g is. And if we don't know what g is, then we don't know, we can't go any further. There's nothing else to do. We've got x by itself, which is the main goal. Right? If we're trying to get x by itself, we've accomplished that goal. We just can't divide g in 6. So that's it. Right? So there's actually less work because otherwise, like let's say I knew what g was. Let's say g was like 12. Right? That's not terrible math. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So, but I had to just do math if I knew what g was. I would have to actually divide them and try to simplify the fraction or something like that. But I don't have to because g could be anything. So it's actually kind of nice. Now, if I want to solve for x again, I'm going to want to get rid of these two 2's. This one's being multiplied by x. This one is subtracting the x. Okay? So in order to get rid of them, I'd have to do divide to get rid of the 2 that's multiplying by the x, and I'd have to do add to get rid of the 2 that's subtracting from the x. Well, according to the opposite of PEMDAS, right? So PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. According to that, we would do parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract in that order, but that's for simplifying. When we're solving, we actually do PEMDAS spelled backwards. And PEMDAS spelled backwards, sad mep. And I don't have an acrostic for that one. Which is sad. I don't know. So it's a sad mep. It's a mep that's sad, right? So like a character in a Dr. Seuss book or something. But anyways, so sad mep tells us the order of operations for when we're solving. If we're gonna solve, we got to get rid of both 2's, but in what order? we're going to get rid of this 2. This 2 that's being subtracted. We do the opposite of minusing 2, which is adding 2. Do that to both sides. What's u plus 2? It's u plus 2, right? Do not make the mistake of saying it's 2u. It's not 2u or u2, right? I'm pretty sure that guy's dead. It's not 2u or u2, right? It's not r2d2, okay? It's just u plus 2. Remember, when you've got letters and other letters or letters and numbers, you can't combine those. Don't try to combine them, okay? It's less work if you don't combine them, right? So just keep that in mind. You're doing less work, right? Cool. So this is equal to 2x. Then we want to divide by 2. Well, what's u plus 2 divided by 2? It's u plus 2 divided by 2. I'm serious, guys. Don't try to simplify. The 2's do not cancel. Don't try it. Don't try it. Yeah, you could split it up maybe and call it u over 2 plus 1, but that's too much work. No pun intended with the 2's. It's too much work. Too much work. Don't simplify anything unless you have to. Okay? If there's all letters, there is nothing you can possibly simplify. We had a little bit of numbers going on here, so there was some possible simplifying to do, but that's the great thing about equations with letters. You don't have to simplify them. It's okay to leave them ugly, right? The less math you do, the more likely you are to get the right answer. X is equal to u plus 2 all over 2. Done. Box it. That's it. Okay? Moving on to 3. And let's switch colors here. Light blue. Now, this is a little bit trickier. M minus x. Okay, well, you would think let's add x. And we could add x. We can't add m. I mean, like, technically we can add m to both sides, but it wouldn't make an m go away or anything like that. So there's 2 things you could do. You could either add x to both sides to make the x positive, but then the x would just be on the left-hand side, and then get rid of z. Or you could get rid of m and then multiply by -1. I think I'm going to go with the latter. So this is the thing, right? So if you weren't following me, that's okay. I'm just kind of thinking out loud right now. But the point of what I just said out loud was this. When you're solving an equation, it doesn't matter that much how you get to the answer. Okay, I'll say it again. It does not matter that much how you get to the answer. As long as whatever you're doing it equally to both sides of an equation, you're good. It might take you a little bit more steps than somebody else, but if you're doing something to the left side and the right side of an equation, the same amount, then you're not doing anything wrong. You might just be taking the scenic route. Okay, so keep that in mind. There's only one answer, right? So math is pretty unforgiving, I'll give you that, but there's multiple ways to get to the right answer. So I'm going to choose this route. Okay, and if you didn't, that's okay. We should get the same answer, but our math might look a little bit different. So this would be z minus m. Remember, do not combine. What's z minus m? Q? No, it's just z minus m, okay? Equal to negative x. And then we need to multiply by -1. So multiply by -1. Multiply by -1. That's basically just going to change the sign on everything. So this is now negative z plus m equal to positive x. I cannot solve for negative x. I have to solve for x. It said to solve for x, not negative x, not q, not z, not m. It said to solve for x. So I got to get rid of that negative on the x. And that's the answer. Okay, G equals CA for A. CA means C times A. If you don't see a sign in between letters or numbers, then that means that those guys are going to be multiplied. If you don't see a sign, then they're multiplied. Okay, so we're going to divide both sides by C. We want to solve for A, right? So we wouldn't get rid of A. We wouldn't get rid of A. We wouldn't divide both sides by A. Right? Oh, hold on. Something's popping up here. Why is a thing popping up? I don't want something to pop up. That was weird. All right, so anyways, um, we don't want to divide by a. We want to divide by c because we want to get a. Right? Remember, it's not really a wrong way. I mean, I guess if you divided by a, it would take you a few more steps to solve it, but we're gonna divide by c, and then we're actually done. That's it. G over c equals a. That's it, guys. That's all there is to this stuff. Now, obviously, it can get a little bit harder because just like with regular equations, you can add more steps to it. So far, we've only had like two-step equations, one and two-step equations. So obviously, there can be more than two steps to solving an equation, right? There's one-step equations, two-step equations, and then multi-step equations, which is like 1 to 1 million. Hopefully not a million. Otherwise, your teacher hates you. But yeah, so that's it, guys. That's really all there is to this. So at this point, I'm just gonna knock out the rest of these. We're gonna go along. I'll explain something new if it comes up, but that's how this is gonna go here, y'all. So x minus k, right? Plus k plus k, right? So that's it. U plus k. That's how all these are gonna go. By the way, if you like getting the answers to math questions right, and you haven't been, I have a guide that can show you how to get the math questions right instead of wrong. It's a very general guide for all math classes, so it's not going to be a super specific guide, but it's going to be very helpful. I've, over the years of tutoring, boiled down all the reasons why people get math problems wrong, put them into a guide so that you can see why you might be getting the answers wrong and how to start getting the answers right. And that guide is called The 5 Math Mistakes Everyone Makes and How to Avoid Them. Super long title, but it's super helpful and it's free. It's my free gift to you. You can go grab it on my website, myersmathematics.com. Link in the description below. Please, please, please go get it. Tell me what you thought of it. Tell me if it was helpful. Shoot me an email. Leave a comment in one of the videos and let me know if it was helpful at all. If it was not helpful, let me know too, so I can make it better, so I can clear things up, and I want you to succeed in whatever math class you're taking, okay? So go check that out. Now, number 7 is a little bit different than normal because A is in the denominator. Anytime there's a denominator, that spells trouble, especially if what we're trying to solve for is in the denominator. What we're trying to solve for is A. Can't solve for a while it's in the denominator. So what I did was I multiplied both sides by a, which doesn't seem to get me any closer to the answer, but it does because a can't be solved for while it's in the denominator. So I multiplied both sides by a. That gets rid of the fraction, right? Even when you're doing equations with letters, you still don't want to deal with fractions. Trust me. Bigger numbers or more complicated numbers or whatever, always better than fractions. Even if you feel comfortable with fractions, I guarantee you fractions are trickier and you're more likely to get the question wrong when it has fractions in it, no matter who you are, because they're just harder. So we get rid of it right off the bat. Multiply both sides by a. AU equals k. AU meaning a times u. Okay, now we can solve for a by dividing both sides by u. K over u is the answer. All right, this one is not so bad. It's just xc, so we're going to divide both sides by c. xc, by the way, is an abbreviation for cross country. Fun fact. I coached cross country. I did cross country, and I coached it for quite a while. I kind of miss it, actually. I like running. I think running is good. A lot of people don't these days. But I think it's so overrated how everybody's on this train of like, oh, running is so dumb. Well, actually, a lot of people really like it. There's a whole magazine called Runner's Magazine. So obviously there's a lot of people who do like to run. Anyways, number 9, we're going to solve for A. All right, so 12 a.m. 12 a.m. I don't know if they did that on purpose. We're going to divide both sides by 12, right? Because we want to get rid of the 12. But how about this? Let's just divide both sides by 12m, because then that'll get rid of the m as well. A is equal to 4 over 12m. Now, this does simplify a little bit, okay? So remember I was saying earlier, like, don't simplify unless you have to. Well, now we kind of have to, because that 4 over 12, both of those numbers divide by 4. Okay, so if you have to, if it's like really obvious that you have to do something to make it like simplified, right? Like simplifying a fraction, that's always a thing they'll want you to do, okay? Like your teacher knows what 4 over 12 simplifies to, but they want to know if you do. So you gotta show them. Okay, both 4 and 12 divide by 4, so divide them both by 4, and you would get 1 over 3m. That's going to be the final answer, not the 4 over 12m. Don't simplify it unless you have to, but if it's something that you would have simplified anyways, even if it wasn't this, new equation with multiple letters thing, you still got to simplify what you would normally simplify. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments below. So, 10. Negative 3x plus 2c equals negative 3 for x. There's only one x, it's right here, so we're going to actually subtract 2c. Okay, let's get rid of the 2c. Okay, so negative 3 minus 2c. Then we divide by negative 3. I'm telling you guys, don't simplify unless you have to. I would just call this a day. I know everything's negative and you could, like switch the sign. I wouldn't. Maybe your teacher wants you to. Just depends on how picky your teacher is. You could write it as 3 plus 2x all over positive 3. You could go so far as to say 1 plus the quantity 2x over 3. I don't think you should have to do any of that. I would, if I was your teacher, I'd be like, that's it. That's fine. Just stop there. It's fine. Everything's fine. Okay, am equals n plus p for a. Okay, well, we just need to divide both sides by m. There's the answer. N plus p over m. Telling you guys, this does not have to be crazy hard. This is kind of tricky at first, okay? But it doesn't have to be any harder than equations already are. And actually, there's less work because you don't have to simplify anything. You just gotta start being okay with seeing multiple letters. That's really it. That's the key to this, is being okay with seeing multiple letters and not being able to do anything about them. That's the key. Okay, we're gonna solve for a. So really, this is like a fraction, like k over b. I need to get rid of the k and the b, so that a is by itself. So what I can do actually is multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, if I multiply a fraction by its reciprocal, by its flip, then it cancels because k over k goes away. B over b goes away. Okay. Now, when you multiply a fraction by a number like this, remember this number is a fraction. Every number, every letter is a fraction. You can write it as something over 1. So it's b times u, bu, k times 1 is k. All right, that one was a little bit tricky. But anytime you're getting rid of a fraction, you can multiply it by its flip, by its reciprocal. All right, we're about halfway there. I'm going to start speeding up a little more. So if you've been hanging out with me so far, you're awesome. And if you've already left, then you wouldn't hear this anyways. So let's go ahead and keep going here. So we want to solve for a. Okay, so we add c. And actually, that's it. So we're done. D minus r plus c. I'm telling you guys, that's it. That's it. That's all there is to it. Now we're going to solve for x. Divide both sides by m. M's gone. X is the only thing on the left-hand side. We're done. Np over m. This does not have to be rocket science. You can do this. This is doable, right? Right? Isn't this doable? This is way more doable than what your teacher was trying to tell you. They made it seem like it was this crazy stuff. It's not crazy. This one, number 15, a little bit crazy because we got that a in the denominator again. Okay, so we're going to have to multiply everything by a. We got to get a out of there. Okay, it's like trapped at the bottom of a mine shaft, and we have to be Lassie. That was an old reference. A times z is az. We're going to distribute a. We have to multiply everything by a, not just the parts that are convenient. Then a times m is am over a. A's cancel. I would have m. So then you're thinking, oh, wait, but this is harder. It's got 2 a's. What do I do? Yeah, 15 is pretty rough. Okay, but we had to get rid of the a in the denominator. There's no other ways to solve it. You got to get a out of there. Okay, so we had to multiply by the a. Now, here's the next part. When you have multiple letters, like the letter you're trying to solve for, there's multiple of them. There doesn't seem to be a way to solve for it. You can still solve for it. Here's what you do, okay? So here's the steps. Step one, okay? We simplify as much as we can, right? So simplify, right? Or rationalize, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to call it simplify because that's kind of what I did, sort of. I multiplied both sides by a, so technically it was like a solving step, but we had to get a out of the denominator. So I had to do that first, okay? And then step two, you want to get all the letters you want on the left. Okay? If it has the letter you want in it, put it on the left. Right? Get all the letters you don't want. Guess what? Guess where? On the right. Okay? You're separating them. All the terms that have the letter you want in them, put them on the left. And by put them, I mean, subtract or add them on both sides so that they go away. And do the opposite for the other letters. If a term does not have the letter you need in it, it belongs on the other side. Okay? Then you factor out just the letter. Factor out just, right? Capital J-U-S-T. Just the letter you want. Okay, I'm going to stop there because one, I'm running out of space here. I'm going to have to scroll down for the rest of the steps. And then two, I want to actually show you what I'm doing here, right? So step one, simplify. We kind of already did that. Step two, get all the letters you want on the left. A, B, subtracted on both sides, okay? That's going to get all my A's on the left. So then I have AZ minus AB equals M. Okay, get all the letters you want on the left. Okay, so I have all the A's on the left. Step three, get all the letters you don't want on the right. We've already done that because the only letter that didn't have an A in it was M, and that is on the right already. So we didn't really have to do step three, okay? Then step four, factor out just the letter you want. And I'm saying it like that because sometimes you can factor out more than just the letter you need to solve. If you can, that's great. You've been conditioned to factor out the greatest common factor. Don't factor out the greatest common factor. That's not what you want to do. You want to just factor out what you need, okay? Laser focus here. Factor out the A, and then parentheses Z minus B. Okay, I'm factoring out A, which means I'm getting rid of the A in the AZ. So Z's left. And then I'm getting rid of the AB. I'm getting rid of the A in AB. So B is left. So Z minus B. Okay, so then the last step, the last thing I want to do then, is I want to divide both sides by the remainder. All right, so divide both sides by the remainder. The remainder of what was factored out. Okay, C minus B, C minus B. It cancels, and then you get the answer. All right, so that's the last step. It's got 5 steps. Step 1, clean it up a bit if you need to. Step 2, get all the letters you want on the left. Step 3, get all the letters you don't on the right. Step 4, factor out just the letter you're solving for. Step 5, divide the stuff in the parentheses. All right, divide the stuff. Okay. So yeah, that was a doozy. But let's move on to the next one. This one's not so bad compared to 15. We want to add C to both sides. And we want to subtract Y on both sides. That gets rid of that and that. And then we get X. X is going to be equal to G minus Y plus C. All right, that was like way easier than number 15. I don't know why they're being so inconsistent with the level of difficulty here. Moving on, we want to solve for A. So you might be thinking, oh, well, wouldn't I add B to both sides because it's B minus CA? And you might be right, except B is positive. Because there's a minus sign in between B and CA, I am going to be either adding or subtracting the B. Because there's a plus and or a minus sign between two things, that means you'll be doing plus or minus to get rid of it. But you don't always do the opposite sign from what's in the middle. Sometimes you have to do the same sign. It's kind of weird, but just because it's B minus CA doesn't mean I add. That'd be true if I was trying to add CA to both sides, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to subtract B on both sides. Okay, so G minus B equals negative CA. Divide both sides by negative C, because I want to solve for A. And here's the answer. That's it. All right, now we solve for A. This time I am going to add B to both sides. Add B, G plus B equals CA. Divide by C. G plus B over C is the answer. We're almost done, y'all. This is it. We're getting to the last few here. 30. Getting up to 30 here. And then 30 is the last one. So we're almost there. Now we want to solve for x. Now this one has two x's again, so we're going to have to solve using the steps that we just did here. We don't need to simplify. So we move on to step 2. Step 2, get all the letters you want on the left. So we want x. Let's get the x's on the left. Subtract it. Subtract it. 2x minus xg. Okay. And then we also want to get all the letters you don't want on the right. Well, 4 is not a letter, but we don't want it because it doesn't have x in it. So we're going to subtract 4 on both sides. Now all the x stuff is on the left and all the not x stuff is on the right. That's the goal. Okay. Factor out just the letter. 2 minus g. And then divide out what you just factored. 2 minus g. And that's the answer. Okay. So yeah, number 19, just like number 15, it's a little bit tougher. Probably one of the toughest things you could do with this. So yeah, but it always works out the same way. If you follow the steps, it's not terrible. All right, it's still doable here. All right, we want to get rid of the a in the denominator. Remember, we cannot solve for it if we have the letter in the denominator. So I'm going to do that. I got ag equals 1 plus 2a. Okay, so that was step 1. That was the simplify step. We got it out of the denominator. I need to get all the letters I don't want. Sorry, get all the letters I do want on the left. All right, so I want to get this guy on the left. Minus 2a. The 1's already on the right, so we're good there. ag minus 2a equals 1. Factor out just the letter I want. Okay, and then I divide both sides by g minus 2. All right, I didn't really have space for it, but g minus 2. Cancel. So it's 1 over the quantity g minus 2. That's it. All right, 21. We want to solve for x. So this one's going to work out really similarly to number 20. We just did this. All right, x's cancel. X minus c. I'm going to subtract x on both sides. And then I'm going to divide out the x. And then I'm going to divide both sides by g minus 1. All right, that's the answer. Now I had a 1 in there because when you divide out x, and x is the only thing that you're dividing out, you divide x by x, you get 1. When I'm factoring, I'm dividing. So if I'm factoring out an x, I'm dividing everything by x. All right, this is, we're going to solve for x again, so we're going to subtract x on both sides. Then we want to factor out the x. Then we want to divide both sides by m minus 1. Boom! There it is. Next, let's see. Indigo. Ooh, that sounds fun. Let's do it. Now we want to solve for a. All right. So again, this is all the same stuff here. We want to do ka minus ba. We want to subtract ba from both sides. We want to subtract u from both sides. Okay. So that was steps 2 and 3 together. I subtracted ba from both sides. That way I have the a stuff on the left. I subtracted u from both sides. That way I got the stuff that does not have the letter we want on the right. Then I factor out the a, k minus b. Then I divide both sides by k minus b. Okay, that's the answer. We want to solve for x. Okay. This time both of the x's are on the right. Now I know I told you, always put the x's on, put the letter you're solving for on the left and put the other stuff on the right. But we could also just do this. If we really wanted to keep it that way, we could just flip everything around. Just flip the whole thing around. Kx plus yx equals u. You could do it that way too. You don't have to. You could just factor it out. But if we stick to this whole thing of like getting the letter we're solving for on the left-hand side, then this is what we would do, right? So x, k plus y equals u. Divide both sides by k plus y. Boom. And there's the answer. All right, we are almost there. There's so many of these, right? So many. All right, we want to solve for a. Oh, there's only one a this time. All right, so this one's going to be not so bad, actually. Subtract 2 from both sides. Subtract 3b from both sides. Okay, so I have u minus 2 minus 3b equals negative 2a. Then divide both sides by negative 2. I'm telling you guys, do not simplify more than you need to. That's as far as I would go. That's it. Okay. Again, only one a here, right? So add 9. Add 3b. Okay, 9, 3b. 9a is equal to z plus 3b plus 9. Divide both sides by 9. That's it, right? And you might be thinking, oh, the 9's cancel. Yeah, but you'd have to split up the fraction. Z divided by 9 plus 3b divided by 9 plus 9 divided by 9. And then you'd have a bunch of simplifying to do. Do you want to do that? I mean, if your teacher needs you to do that, that's one thing. But don't do any more math than you have to. Every time you do math, you run the risk of doing it wrong. The less math you have to do to get to an answer that your teacher's okay with, the better. Right? So don't do more than you need to do. A and A, we want to factor out A. 4c minus 3b. Boom, G. Okay, so then we would divide both sides by 4c minus 3b. 4c minus 3b. Boom, that goes away. There's the answer. And we are on the third to last problem. Let's check this out. For A, oh, there's only one A. All right, plus 3, plus 3. Forgot to put the actual 3 there. Then we have negative 2n plus 3p plus 3. Divide both sides by negative 3. And we've solved for A. There's the answer. All right, last one. Let's do brown's kind of hard to see beige, so let's do like a brownish color here. All right. Oh, this is not so bad. 4, 4. All right. Now, all of these do divide by 2. So your teacher might want you to simplify this. Might. Maybe. I would be okay with this, personally. You could also simplify it if you divide everything by 2. Now, we have to be really careful. This is why I tell you, like if your teacher's okay with, not simplifying that much, then don't. Everything divides by 2. So we could divide everything by 2. Divide 4 by 2, I get 2. Divide 2 by 2, I get 1. Divide 4 by 2, I get 2. Okay? But you have to be really careful because you have to divide everything by 2, each individual term. So be really careful when you're simplifying. All right. Oh, wait, I'm just going to use the same color. We're going to solve for A. Okay, so Ka multiplied by K and A. Anytime you have fractions, get rid of them. Right? That's just a good rule of thumb. All right, so KAU. I feel like that's a name of a sorority or something. Kappa Alpha Umbreon. That was a Pokemon. Negative 2a minus 3. Let's see. We want to get a's on one side, right? So KAU plus 2a equals negative 3. And we got all the a's, right? Factor out just the a, KU plus 2. Then divide out the KU plus 2. So even though it was a little bit tricky, we still do the same steps I taught you about earlier. And that's it, y'all. that's it. I hope this was really helpful. If you were confused by anything, if you want me to send you this worksheet, I save all of these worksheets. If you want me to send you this worksheet with all the answers on it, just shoot me an email, Mr.Myers at Myers Mathematics. That will be in the link in the description below as well. And I hope this was helpful for you. And I will see you again in another video